welcome everyone. I know you have busy schedules, so thank you again for taking time out of your busy days to spend your hour or whatever time it is going to be with us in going over BIM 360 design. I hope you'll find this exciting and possibly learn some new things. Without further ado, let me actually introduce you to the team. First, a little bit about myself. I went to the University of Florida and also Masters of Architecture. I've been working in the industry about 22 years, so I know a thing or two about putting drawings together. I've worked as a CAD manager and a BIM manager at different design firms, and most recently been a Reviteer, as I call it, for the past 8 years. I've also taught at Mississippi State University, invited there as a guest lecturer, also taught at the former ITT Tech, Palm Beach State University, and just love to teach and give people information. I've also co-authored the BIM execution plan for that little university, the University of Central Florida. I'm joking, it's actually one of the largest campuses in the country. And I'm also a certified specialist in Revit and also in AutoCAD. So let me hand it off to my other coworkers, and these are going to be participants in today's session. Each one of us is basically going to take on a persona of a different design team, and we're going to show you how we're going to collectively work together on a project live during this session. So without further ado, let me pass it off to Carlos. Carlos?
Hey, Rick. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, my name is Carlos Catalan, and I am a Denver native. I have my associate's degree in drafting and design. I was a plumber for about 10 years in the field and have been working with Revit about 8 years and AutoCAD about 10 years. And I've handled everything in the mechanical world that you could probably think of, with the exception of electric, but I'm now handling that as well. So I'd just like to also personally welcome you to our webinar, and I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chris Riddell. Chris?
Thanks, Carlos. Again, my name is Christopher Riddell, and I have architecture bachelor's and a master's in building construction and facility management from Georgia Tech. I'm a senior solutions specialist here at Applied, and prior to coming over here, I worked at an AE firm where I did a lot of worship, education, healthcare, and then dabbled in some senior living near the end. And I also served as BIM manager at that firm. I'm a certified instructor, and I'm also a certified professional in Revit architecture. I'd like to now pass it over to Anthony. Anthony?
Thanks, Christopher. Hi, guys. This is Anthony. I have a bachelor's in architecture and a master's as well, which I got at Texas Tech University. I'm a senior solutions specialist with Applied here, and I've got about 6 years of experience in the field. Previously, I was running my own consulting business where I did a lot of work on BIM execution plans in residential design. I think that's all I have to say for myself. Rick, do you want to take this back?
Sure will. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Anthony. Awesome. All right. So over here, we're going to go through the agenda. We're going to be mixing it up today, a little bit of PowerPoint and a little bit of live introduction to workflow on BIM 360. So today's agenda is basically about a work sharing overview. We're going to go through some PowerPoints and talk about a short history lesson of how BIM 360 came about. We'll talk about some of the differences between the different versions of BIM 360 design versus team. We'll talk about what exactly is BIM 360 design. We'll talk about setup, cloud collaboration, design collaboration workflows, scenarios, and then what you've been waiting for is a live demo with all of our team members. And we're going to quickly do a quick setup and use live with BIM 360 design. And last but not least, we're going to also be doing a troubleshooting. Did I mention this is live? So if there's anything that happens here, you're going to see it live. This is something that might happen in real time. And so you'll see kind of if there's struggles, you'll see how we can potentially deal with them, which are things that you might come across. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about Revit. Everyone on the call here is probably a Revit user, and you are already familiar enough with central files. Right now, the way that central files work, as you might know, is that your design team, let's say the 3 architects here, all located in the 4 walls of this blue building, all are working on a central file. Well, that's all good and great, but what happens when we need to work with a consultant that's on the outside, in this case, our engineer, right? So the issue is, how do we do that? And typically, that's always done by emailing or sending an FTP or putting something on Dropbox, and none of those really work well. So let's talk about why this came about. There was a problem for BIM 360 for sharing drawings. And before BIM 360, how was that issued? And the drawings were basically always a challenge to get those geographically sent to different locations and disperse them to our team. Dropbox was used, but it's also very risky. And in about January, mid-2015, A360 was created. Autodesk came out with this platform that would enable people to share drawings online. This was the first of its kind, and not like Dropbox, which has its own problems. This was specifically made for architects and engineers using Revit and included something called BIM 360 Team. Well, some changes came across, and basically Autodesk had a lot of feedback from the customers. And around April 9th, 2018, BIM 360 Design was released for the first time. C4R, which is collaboration for Revit from the previous version, and BIM 360 Team were discontinued, which means all the projects that you're going to currently be working on in 2018.3 and 2019 will be using the BIM 360 Design compatibility service. Now, if you're using, for example, if you're on 2017, you can still use BIM 360 Team. You just can't purchase it. It's included as a legacy service when you purchase BIM 360 Design, but you can't purchase BIM 360 Team by itself. Hopefully that's clear enough for everyone. So let's talk about workflows. In 2018.3 and 2019, you have BIM 360 Design. On the left-hand side in this dashed area, I want you to think of this service as a separate server where the different design teams, in this case the architect, the structural, and MEP firms, might have individuals working underneath them and sharing files up to the cloud. Basically, BIM 360 Design at a 1,000-foot overview is taking that central file and publishing it to the cloud. Then all the different design team members have access to this file or the models located on the cloud. Included in BIM 360 Design is not only the collaboration aspect, but the document management. A key aspect of this is managing the documents. For this, there's a separate service over here called Document Management, and you'll notice it's on another cloud. Think of it as a whole completely different server. When you're working on design collaboration, you're working on a live central file through Revit, and everyone on your design team is working on that one live file. On the right-hand side, you have the access through the web. Think of this as a read-only, the ability to look at the drawings that the other design team members have taken as a snapshot. That snapshot is what I call Revit's published version, which you see that's in between with that arrow. When the design teams work together, they create a published version that goes over to document management. That captured version of the central file is not the live file. It's a captured snapshot. And that snapshot is then shared with team members across different platforms, such as Google Chromebooks, an iPhone, or a tablet. And all these documents can then be looked at, reviewed, and marked up without the use of Revit. When you publish, you'll notice that you'll get a new version. This is the way you keep everyone up to date, is by publishing. Let's look at the flavors of BIM 360, in particular BIM 360 Design, the one on the left. Autodesk has come out with different methods of BIM 360 services. The one as architects and engineers that we're going to focus on is BIM 360 Design, which includes cloud work sharing, the desktop connector, document management, and legacy BIM 360 team. So where do we start? First, if you're getting new to BIM 360 Design, look up Getting Started with BIM 360 Design. This is the most important slide, in my opinion, because this is something that you will always be able to go look at to get information on. Again, that's Getting Started with BIM 360 Design. This guide will be always up to date because it's a Wikipedia-based page. So as things are updated, this guide will be updated as well. Let's talk about setup. Over here, you must be an administrator to start a project, and you'll see how we're going to go through this and set up a project. You'll enable services and then invite team members to the project. Those team members will then have the ability to be set up within different project teams to access different folders. Those design teams are set up in a way that you have the ability to administer different permission levels. So for example, as the architect, I want to be able to look at my drawings and potentially my consultants. In this case, the engineers that I'm going to be working with, my other team members, they're going to be limited to just seeing their files, not everyone else's folders as well, because we don't want them, let's say, in our drawings. And this is something that's new within BIM 360 Design that came about. You have different interfaces through the web, and one of which is the Design Collaboration interface. This shows you a live view of the published drawing through the web interface. You can take any drawing and basically be able to look at it and review it. Even a 300 meg file can easily be viewed on an iPad, and that drawing can be looked at and reviewed because it doesn't take up a lot of space. On the Design Collaboration interface, you have things called swim lanes, which we'll talk about later. Those swim lanes give you the ability to create packages and share information with your other team members. You'll notice also under packages, you can share these with other teams. When you share them, we'll also have the ability, and you'll see in just a little bit how we consume them. This will all make sense once we start working on a project. Let's take a look at our workflow in a bubble diagram. First, as the architect, I'm going to basically start with a model and publish it from Revit. From Revit, I'm going to publish it, synchronize, and publish it online. When I do that, it's going to increment online to the next version. This gives me two things. One, a backup, or lots of backups, hopefully, and also the ability to share that latest snapshot to our team members. After I do that, I'll create a package within BIM 360 Design and then decide to share that with my team members. That'll show up on their swim lanes or be copied to the package under shared folders at the same time. You'll see over here our structural engineer, if you follow him across, he's actually going to link that displayed package and bring it into his consumed folder. Afterwards, the other engineers can also explore these packages and then also consume them. And this happens live, in real time, through the web. First, the very first thing that you'll see when you're invited to a project is you'll receive an email, similar to this one here, and it'll say activate your project or access to your project. When you're invited to a project, that means that you've purchased, or once you've purchased BIM 360 Design, this gives you the ability to be invited to any project team across the globe. Once you pay that one membership fee, you can be invited to as many projects as you can or need to. After you're invited, you sign in with your username and password, and you log in. So let's jump forward a little bit into troubleshooting before we get into the live demo. Now over here, a lot of times we as the technicians, when you call applied software, we deal with a lot of these issues and sometimes no access to BIM 360. A lot of times when this happens, you want to make sure that the BIM 360 entitlement has been assigned to the users. Next, a lot of times we'll get this question where there's no access to any projects. Well, basically this means, have you been invited to a project? A lot of times people will forget to invite members to a project, and if they're not invited, It's like having a birthday party and no one shows up. It's because you didn't invite them. So make sure to invite your people to your projects. Access. Access control in BIM 360 Design has increased from the previous version of BIM 360 Team. With access control, you can check permissions, and if someone does not have, they can't view the drawing or they can't access it, check your permissions. Next is health.autodesk.com. All the online services from Autodesk are located in one central location where you can view them to see their status, their health. If you go to health.autodesk.com, click on the subscribe button. That's highlighted there in red. When you subscribe, you can subscribe to the different services and find out in real time if there's an issue. All right, let's review what we've gone over. BIM 360 Design is a cloud collaboration tool. BIM 360 Design includes collaboration docs and cloud collaboration and the desktop connector. We'll talk about project setup and go through that, and then also cloud collaboration. We talked about workflows and creating packages and sharing them and consuming. We'll also go through markups online, and last but not least, troubleshooting. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the design team. First, you have myself, the BIM manager, the architect. Next, Carlos. Carlos will be playing our MEP engineer. Carlos, I hope you don't like, I like that hat you have. Looks just like mine. Anthony. Anthony will be playing the role of the interior designer. Last but not least is Christopher. And Christopher will be playing our structural engineer. Are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
Do it.
All right. Awesome. So without further ado, let's go right into it. I'm going to go ahead and basically start showing you the real live workflow. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm opening up Revit in just a moment. When I'm doing this, as the architect, I start to work on my drawing. In just a little bit, you'll see our Revit pop up. Over here is a live drawing of my screen right here. And I have my schematic design of this particular project. I've been awarded this amazing project, this opportunity for this hospital. I've invited my friends Carlos, Anthony, and Christopher as my engineers and designers to be a part of this project. The first thing that I need to do as an architect is basically come up with a design. So I'll go ahead and do that. And to kind of fast forward, this is my design that I'm going to create. Next, I need to start a project online. Before inviting them to a project online, I need to actually be online. So what I'm going to do over here is basically bring over BIM 360 Design. Now, the web interface over here, you can just simply Google it by Googling BIM 360 Docs, and you'll get to log in. Over here, what I'm going to do is basically start to create a new project. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to call it 2019 Medic Express and give it a type. Everything with an asterisk that you see here is required. So I'm just going to, for argument's sake, just for time's sake, just pick on the things that are necessary. And typically, the project is going to go for, let's say, 3 years. Make sure to pick the correct time zone that you're currently in. And matter of fact, let's just go around the room real quick. I wanted to show everyone where everyone currently is live on this webinar. I'm calling in from sunny Florida, where it's a nice balmy 70 degrees. Carlos, how about you? Where are you located?
I'm located in Littleton, Colorado, where it is not so warm. It's actually 32 degrees out.
All right, so Colorado to Florida. And Anthony? I believe Anthony also is in the same location in Denver. So we have 3 different locations so far. And last but not least, our structural engineer, Christopher. Christopher, where are you located?
I'm located over in Atlanta. We're prepping for the Super Bowl.
There you go. All right. So we won't get into Super Bowl politics because that's a whole nother thing, right? So we'll get right into it. The idea, folks, is that you're looking at a live project that's really being worked on completely in 3 different states. So over here, you'll see that I'm activating services, and I'm going to go ahead and just go through and start to activate some of these services. And one of the things that needs to be done when doing this is you need to have at least one person as a project manager for both of these. And you'll notice over here we're activating these services, document management and design collaboration. As I had mentioned before, those are the 2 different services that I had that screenshot in PowerPoint. And I'm assigning that over here and then basically finishing. I've now started to work on this project. And all I need to do is just find it back over here. And you'll notice the only people that are part of this project is myself. I'm going to go ahead and start to add people to the project. And I'm going to go ahead and add our engineers. I'm going to add Carlos. I'm going to then add Anthony. And while I'm doing this is going to basically build our team together and then send them an email saying that they've been activated on this project. Over here, I'm going to switch Carlos to be our MEP engineer. Anthony is going to be interiors, and Christopher is strong structural. And over here, we can assign roles as well. Carlos, you are the MEP engineer, isn't that right?
Correct.
All right, so mechanical. Anthony, remind me again, what are you?
I am going to be working on the interior design, and I believe I have a massive budget.
Awesome, awesome. Great, that's good, because our owner loves to do things. Christopher, how about yourself? What are you going to be?
I believe I'm going to be structure.
All right, structure. Well, we're going to push the limit on the different things that we're going to do, and I'm going to make sure that you all are members to all these different services. I'll add you to the project, and what's nice about this from the architect's perspective or the BIM manager is that these members now have been added. Shortly, those individuals will receive an email notification saying that they have been invited to a project. Next, we'll go over here and take a look at adding basically the folders for the teams. The reason why we're adding folders is over here what we need to do is basically go through and add folders that are accessible to these individual project people. So I'm going to go back over here to design collaboration and add a team. The way to think about this is that these are the different disciplines that are going to be working on a project. Each one of these is going to be a location where you guys are going to be able to store your files. So I'll start with the Arch team, structural team, and I'll keep adding these.
Hey, Rick, it's a good time to say that I guess the email came in almost simultaneously. I just wanted to point that out. So,
Awesome. And so that linked email is something that gives the person notification that they've been invited to. How about the rest of you guys? Have you received yours as well?
Yep, I'm part of the team.
Awesome. So then we'll be able to start working together. And then finally, the MEP team. So what's happening in the background over here is online, Autodesk is creating these folder structures over here, and you'll notice it says project files and then team, and it has the ability, they will each have the ability to browse to these folders. Now, just because I created them doesn't necessarily mean that they have access to them. So what I need to do is make sure to manage them and add the people that are supposed to be part of this team. So interiors, that's Anthony, right?
That's right.
All right, and I'm going to make sure that he has full control of his project. And in just a little bit, you'll see here in live time of basically the time it takes to add these individuals to the project. And so Anthony is now added to that project. Next is MEP. For that, we're going to go to Carlos. Carlos, you ready to do some work on this project with MEP?
I cannot wait.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, can't wait to get started. We're going to do some really cool designs and work on this thing together across state lines. And last but not least is our structure team. And that is Mr. Christopher. You'll notice that I'm giving full control to each of these individuals for their own teams. That way that they have the ability to fully control the folder access for their project. Now, of course, we'd want to make sure that they have the ability to view, edit, share, and control their own folders. All right. So without further ado, one of the last things I need to do here is under document management, verify that those folders have been created. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see on my screen I have project files. Now, the individuals that have been invited to the project might not see everything here. For example, if we were to switch over to structural engineer, we'd see that he has, for example, right now, possibly just the structural team in shared, because the structural engineer is not part of any of these. I'm also going to include
Rick,
another folder.
should I be able to see plans?
You know, that's a good question. Thank you so much. So you will not, and the reason being is, that's a great point. Thank you. Right now, plans is owned just by me. Right now, if I look over here at plans and go to permissions, you'll see that only I have plans. So one of the things that you want to make sure is that you add the individuals to that. So I'm going to go ahead. Thank you, Christopher, for reminding me of that. I'm going to go ahead and add him as well as the rest of my team. And Anthony and...
One thing that's worth mentioning is you've been adding each of us individually, but in any of these permission levels, you can actually add a company. So if I had 5 people working at my interior design company and I need all of them, Rick can actually just type in the company name and all of us will be added.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that's absolutely true. Thank you for mentioning that. Now, companies is a great way to distribute information without having to add individual names, and that works really, really well. So now that I've added everyone here, do you guys see plans in your document management?
Mine is still loading up, but yep, I do. I do have plans.
Awesome, awesome. So you might have to, by the way, for those of you, just hit refresh on your Chrome, which, by the way, Chrome is going to be the way to run this. All right, so now that I've set the folders up over here, everyone's been invited, right? Got thumbs up from everyone? Carlos?
Correct, yep. I did have to refresh.
Anthony. All right, Anthony, do you see your interiors?
It looks good.
And Christopher, do you see your structure team?
I do see it. Could you explain that linked folders?
Awesome. Yeah, I will. So the link folder, I want you to notice I created a folder over here, and it does not have a little triangle next to it. That linked files folder is basically a location where, let's say I wanted to upload something that is not relevant. It's relevant to the drawings, but it's not in the drawings. So, for example, like a cut sheet would be a good example, a PDF. Let's say I wanted to share that information with my interior designer. I have a particular drawing that I want to share. Well, one of the things I can do is I can create, in essence, a public folder. That public folder, I'll need to make sure to add them to it. And just as I suspect, because I added this, no one can see that. So let me go ahead and add my team members, because if not, they'll never see the stuff that I'm adding. So I'm going to do Anthony and Carlos and Christopher. All right. By doing that, they all will have the linked files. And in just a little bit, you'll see how we can actually use that to send information. The way to think about this is like sometimes if you're a Revit user, you know that you have a drafting view. And in that drafting view, you can insert, let's say, a JPEG or some other image or whatever it is that's not really part of the drawing package. This is an area where each team member can do the same thing. Why it's important to place those things here is that instead of sending that via an email and everyone has it on their own local server, this is one location that everyone has access to. All right, so with the folders already created, now the hard part has been finished. I'm going to go back over here to Revit and take a look at starting to work on my project and collaborate that with everyone on the team. You'll notice over here I have the ability to create that central file either on my network or on BIM 360. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And in just a moment, it's basically going to go through and find the location. Over here are the different projects that I've been invited to, or the teams that I've been invited to. And I'm going to click in here, and that's going to show me all the different individual projects that I've been invited to. I'm going to double-click the project folder that I'm in, project files. Remember those teams that I created? These are shortcuts, basically like you would browse to on your own server. I'm the architect, so I'm going to put it under the architecture team. And I want to make sure to change the name over here. So I'm going to go over here, and it's a good habit to put in Cloud Central. That way everyone on the design team knows that that's a central file. And I'm going to go ahead and initiate. In the meantime, this is basically going to start to package the file and publish it up to the web. This is just like creating a central file that would show up on your own server, but in this case, it's pushing it up to the cloud. In the meantime, my engineers are patiently waiting to get this drawing. Now, what I'm going to do is, while this is uploading, I'm going to go ahead and hit close. You'll notice that I'm going to go over here back to Documents. I'm going to go to my architecture team. And there it is. So there's the first start. You'll notice that it says version 1. Under version 2 now, it's uploading. Right now, as you notice, it's thinking. So when you see this little swirly thing over here, that means it's currently being processed online. When it finishes, it's going to be able to share that drawing with everyone else. For this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the next. I'm going to go fast forward in time the next hour, let's say. Through wonderful technology, we're going to go fast forward in time, and over here I've uploaded my file. And here it is, my Arch Cloud Central file that I've uploaded. What I'm going to do to share this with my team members, because right now they don't have a drawing, is I'm going to go through and share that. To do that, I'm going to go over here to Design Collaboration and create what's called a package. Now, instead of sending an email, the ability here is to create a package to my whole team. As the architect over here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new package. Select the drawing that I want, hit Save, and share it. And I'm going to call this the SD Package Kickoff. And I'm going to let everyone know this is the first SD model to be used to work on, and share it. When I do this, everyone on their own drawings will have a new blip. That little blip is shown over here on the swim lanes. These are different packages that are created for individuals, and here's a timeline. Over here, this is a project kickoff for the project that I've been working on. Now, if I switch over, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Christopher. And Christopher, in just a little bit, when we see his screen, you'll see that the design package. Go ahead, Christopher, take over when you can. And let's take a look at your swim lanes and take a look at that package. And hopefully, you'll start to see that SD package. So in just a little bit, we'll see its screen. Awesome. So
cool. Alrighty. So I got this notification that this was uploaded. So I want to look at this package here before I consume it, because I need to start my model, but I first want to know what Rick's done here. And so I'm going to go up to the swim lane, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to explore, because I want to be able to see what it is he's put in. Do I even want to get started with this? I already can tell I have my work cut out for me.
Right, he might not. He might need to up his fees, right?
Yeah, because this is not the simple box that I thought I was going to make. But you know what? I think I can handle this. So I'm going to consume it, and I'm consuming it so that I can actually use it within my Revit model. So I'm going to consume.
Hey, Christopher, what does that Show Changes button do, though?
Well, let's see. Now, it may not show us anything yet because I haven't consumed any models. So we'll take a look, and then depending on what happens, we will see. All right, so right now I'm seeing no...
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, right now I'm showing no changes. And chances are with this is because I haven't consumed another package yet. Later on, when I consume another package, I'm going to be able to see what did Rick do, what did Rick delete or move. But right now what this is telling me is that nothing's changed because I haven't actually consumed anything. So I'm seeing everything.
Okay, so it works sort of like you're seeing live revisions, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So now I'm back in Revit, so I'm going to create a new local file from my structure template. And what I want to do once this gets open is I'm first going to save locally. So I'm just going to find a place. I'm just using my desktop for now. And I'm going to give this a name. We're just going to call it structure base and save it. So at least I now have my local file getting saved. And now what I need to do is, just like Rick did, I need to create a central model. So I'm going to go to the Collaborate tab, and I'm going to actually push this to the cloud. Right? And now I've been invited to several projects here. So I think we're working on Project B now, because that's where I actually consumed my drawing. So I'm going to go into the Structure team, and I'm going to save it here. Now, let's not forget, per directions of our architect, we're going to call this Cloud Central.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, I follow directions. So here we go. We're saving this. We're loading it up. And now the next thing I need to do, just like I would any other time, is I want to link in my architectural model. Normally, I may have linked it in from, perhaps I got it from through Dropbox or through WeTransfer, and I downloaded it onto my network, and now I need to be able to link it in. Well, I could do the same thing, but I can actually link it in through the cloud. So what I'm going to do, now that that's saved, is same steps. I'm going to go link Revit. Now, I learned this out the hard way, is actually the folder I'm in right now is BIM 360, sort of the web interface. And I don't actually want to link it in from here. I actually want to go down to my computer over here. And right here, you'll see this is the desktop connector. So this is the BIM 360 desktop connector. And that's actually where I want to link these files in from. Again, I'm going to go find my project. We're in Medic B, Structure. Now, I have this Consume folder. And inside the Consume folder, it's going to show all the different models that I've consumed. Up to this point, I've only consumed architecture. So I'm going to go to there. And I'm going to link this in. So I can see it's transferring all the files. It's pulling everything down from BIM 360. And it's going to bring it into my model. Now, as soon as this gets in here, Rick, do you need me to start doing some work, or are you not ready for me to work yet?
Yeah, so right now, basically all the guys here are going to start doing some work, and so go ahead, and over here when he starts creating some grid lines and whatnot. So now our project team, without having to switch over to our MEP and interior, they also would be doing the same thing of starting their own local file and uploading it and creating that central file, and then also creating the design package. So what we're seeing here, Christopher's looking at my file going, oh my goodness, this project, I don't know what I signed up for. I'm sure my fees aren't high enough, right?
Not a box. It's not a box.
Not a box. Nope, I told him it was a simple box. I lied a little. But, I think we can do it. I definitely think we can do it. And so ultimately, while he's working here, he's basically going to be synchronizing, and when he's synchronizing, everyone on his team internally of his structural team will be seeing those changes. Now, how do you send those changes back to the architect?
All right, well, let's see what we have to do. I've got some columns in here. I just put some basic sizes. I'm not sure what we're going to do. Again, this is not what I thought I was getting myself into. Let me make a few more changes. But what I'm going to first do is I'm going to sync, because I want to make sure that everyone on my team gets my team being inside my office. So I want to make sure they get my changes. I have a couple of people working with me, so they need to know that I've done this. So I'm going to go ahead and sync. But by doing this, Rick and the rest of the team, they're not seeing anything I've done. So I actually need to publish this. And to do that, I'm going to go to the Collaborate tab. I'm going to go to Manage Cloud Models. Okay? And so once I go to Manage Cloud Models, I'm just going to go navigate to my team. So let's see, here we are, Medic Express B. I can see here's my model, and here I have the option. If I hover over it, it's going to tell me Publish Latest. So I'm going to go ahead and publish and publish. So now that I know that this is, when this turns green, that's how I know it's left my computer and it's in the cloud. And then if I flip back over to my project, go to Document Management, and I just want to see if my model is getting pushed up there. So we'll take a quick look. Once I feel comfortable that it's in there, and there it is. We can see that it's thinking. So as soon as it gets in there, now Rick's going to have access to this. Okay?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Sure thing.
All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a look at his drawing that he shared with me online, and I'm going to show you kind of the process in which I'll need to go through to make sure that I have the latest, greatest changes from him. So what we're going to do over here.
Well, he's going to need to create a package first, right?
Right. And so in the background, while we're looking, he's going to create that package. And I'm going to go ahead and go forward in time to my Express C, which is basically we're fast forwarding to another time. And I'll notice that he's created these new packages. When I go over here to the swim lane, I'll see that the structural engineer has created a package. I went through already here and consumed it, which means in my model, when I open it, I can basically go take a look at it. You'll notice over here it just says a new package has come in for review, which is nice. This gives me the information in this timeline, the swim lane of the different departments that have put something in here. By the way, over here I can see all the latest, greatest information, such as issues, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. If I go over here to my project home, which is what everyone should be doing, basically at the beginning of every day, check in at the home page. And in the home page, this will give you a outline of all the different things. So for example, you'll notice there are some design packages on the bottom left-hand side that have been shared with me. When they're open like that, that means that I haven't consumed them. There's some design issues that I need to deal with, and I have some project issues. Also, I can see what's going on live in my project right here in Palm Beach Gardens. Right now, as I said, it's drizzling. It's a balmy 70 degrees. Sorry, folks in the north experiencing that cold front. It's big old 70 degrees here. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is basically go into the drawing to go take a look at that. Sorry about that. And I'm going to go over here and go to Models, Open, click BIM 360, and browse to that. Over here, what I'm going to do is look at the project that I've been working on, And in this case, I'm opening up the project that I'm going to be working on. In just a moment here, we'll see that file. So I'm opening it up, and what it's doing is it's actually going online. This is great because guess what? I don't have to be tied to my office. I can be anywhere. Wow. Christopher, you've done some work. Here's the background that I've consumed, and you can see in the background, here's his structural grid, and he's done quite a lot of work. Christopher, you outdid yourself, sir.
Had to earn my keep.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. So you'll notice I have his drawing linked in, and if I go over here to manage, you'll notice I go to manage links, and here's his structural file. If I want to go take a look at now, for example, my interiors, so the interiors has created a package for me as well. And if I go back over here online, let's see, Anthony, have you been doing some work? Do you have fixtures picked out for me?
I do have some work, and I've got some nice furniture spec'd.
Awesome. You'll notice over here, check it out. Thank you so much. Over here, it's a open button, and here is a revised furniture layout. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it and explore it. I can take a look at it before consuming it and take a look at it. Wow, that's a lot of furniture there. So awesome. So thank you so much. I'm going to basically, and you'll notice this isn't sent by email. This is all live through the web. I'm going to go ahead and consume it. Consuming that means that I'm going to be able to bring that into my drawing system, to my drawing background. And right now it's getting the package and bringing it in. In just a little bit, I'll go through over here and insert that linked file. Just as Christopher had shown before, you need to make sure to not go into this first location, but browse over here to my computer. I'll double-click BIM 360, go over here to the project that I've been invited to. I'm going to go to the Arch team, consumed, interiors, and there's the furniture. Awesome. Thanks, Bud, for putting all that furniture in the project. And so we'll be able to take a look at it right away. And there it is. So you can see automatically, now he's in Denver working on this drawing. Now over here, you'll notice that I'm going to make some design changes. When I'm going to make some design changes, when I create that new package, he'll be able to see those changes and immediately go back and modify his package. Now let's talk about markups. So you saw how easy it is to work together right now with my engineers. And now what we're going to take a look at is we're going to talk about our MEP engineer, Carlos. So Carlos and I been working together on this project for a couple months now, and I have some issues that I need to talk to him about. So typically we'd send those via an RFI through an email, right? The old-fashioned way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through over here and mark up his drawings so that he can see what needs to be done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my consumed folder, open up MEP, and look at the drawing, my latest, greatest that I've consumed from him. Let's go ahead and start marking up some stuff. In this case, I'm going to take a look at the drawing and basically go, whoa, wait a minute, there's an issue here. There's supposed to be 4 air handlers here you're missing. So I'm going to create an issue, pick the location, and say missing air handler unit. I'm going to assign it to Carlos, choose the date that it's due, and I'm going to pick Valentine's Day.
Because you're my sweetheart.
The description. That's right, that's right. I wanted to get you something. So I'm going to say, please add air handler per spec. And I'm going to go ahead and create that issue. Now, what's awesome about this is, so Carlos, let me know, when did you get an email? If so, let's take a look at that.
I got an email for the Anthony's upload.
Awesome.
Let's go. And I'm still waiting for the other one that you just Sent.
All right. So this issue in the background, Autodesk is going to send an email. And go ahead whenever you can, Carlos, share your screen. And in the meantime, we're going to see that issue on what it looks like on his end. Now, what's great about this is it's accessible via an iPad, an iPhone, whatever it is that you have as an email device, you'll be able to open it up. Okay.
Alrighty, yeah, it looks like I'm taking over. We're on the C project here. Here's my email. And you can see I've gotten 2 emails, issue number 8 and issue number 9, as well as the issue from Anthony. So I'll drag that back off. It was pretty quick here. And what I'll do is I'll go into my design collaboration. And while that's loading up, I will be thinking of my sweetheart Rick and the issues he issued to me.
That's right. And I'll tell you one great easy way. I'll tell you what, if you go back into your email, go ahead and just click on that link, and it makes it really user-friendly. Go back into that email, and you'll see that little link, which is really nice, and it says, take me to that issue, that view issue. And what's nice about this is it hones in exactly on where that issue is that I created. So there isn't any guesswork, and it opens up this dialog box. As you can see here, it has the issue that I created, and if you scroll down, you can go through and find a comment area with a little pencil next to it, and you can reply back your response. So right underneath there, let's go ahead and just put in a response and say, yep, gotcha. Happy Valentine's Day. I'll add that 4th air handler unit. Now, when he's ready to respond back and basically close this issue, you'll notice on the top right it says open. Up at the top where it's nice and orange, over here next to the close button, you'll see an open with a drop down. Go ahead and click on that drop down, and we're going to change it from open to answered, which means he's already taken care of that. Awesome. And go ahead and put in a comment that it's all taken care of.
No worries. Done.
Awesome. Not a single email was sent manually. This was all done electronically. And what's nice about this, for managing your project, everyone has access to this RFI log. That is the way I like to call it. It's an Autodesk. It's issues. And these issues can be tracked back and forth so you can see. Go ahead and close that. And if you go back to the home page, you'll see what's been answered. You'll see that we have orange and blue and different document issues.
Oh,
awesome.
Just regular home.
Mm-hmm.
And
so right there,
conflict
you see,
is no longer available. Yep.
Right. It's not on the table anymore. It's something that's been done. All right. Great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Carlos. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Over here, what we're going to do is go back and look at now how to continue to work on this project. So one of the things that we can do, I mentioned earlier about linked files. The linked files might be a PDF, and I'm simply going to come over here and upload a drawing. In this case, I've uploaded a toilet that I want my MEP engineer to use, but I want to let him know that that toilet is the one that I want to spec, not the one that he's done as a American standard, but this really fancy one because, well, we have the budget for it, right? So we're going to go ahead and create an issue letting our MEP engineer know that we want that to be used. So I'm going to go over here and click on Create Issue, and I'm going to call it New Fancy Toilet. I'm going to go ahead and submit it to Carlos. Of course, it's due on Valentine's Day. And over here, I'm going to add the document. I'm going to go to Project Files, go to Linked, and there's my toilet. And I'm going to ask him to go ahead and use this drawing. So over here, this is opening up a PDF viewer. And over here, it says click a location to place it. And I want him to use this version right here and click done. When I do that, I'm going to say, please use this overpriced toilet. And I'm going to go ahead and create that issue. So the new issue was created. That information is automatically emailed, and everything is great. Now, what we have here is the ability to work collectively on a project with all the different team members. And what's great about this is that there's no need for a server. The only thing that we need the server for is basically an internet connection out to the World Wide Web. As we continue working on the project over here, we synchronize as we would normally when I make those design changes. As the architect, I synchronize, and then I publish. So basically, that in a nutshell is the workflow. We've gone through and consumed models, we've uploaded, we've done some reviews, shown you how to work with different markups between the different team members. So at this point, I'd like to open it up to the audience. Guys, what do you think? Let's see if there's any questions that we have from the audience. Alyssa, do we have anything from the audience?
Yes, Rick, there are quite a few. Our first one is there a website to see the status of online services?
Absolutely. And so you want to make sure to go through and go to health.autodesk.com. Yep.
All right, our next one. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Our next one is from John, and he asks, where do I get updates to my Revit?
That's a pretty good question. So there's two different places you can go. The most easiest place is going to be using your Autodesk desktop app. A lot of times you'll get even pop-ups that say, hey, you need to update to the 0.1, 0.2. In fact, what we were using here was 2019.2, so that is the current. And then there's also, you could go to manage.autodesk.com where you can actually see your products and you can upgrade from there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And one thing to kind of keep in mind is you want to make sure your design team is working on the same release update. So if, for example, my team, we're all working on 2019.2, you want to make sure that everyone is on that 0.2 version. Awesome. Okay.
Wonderful. Our next question is from John in Arkansas. How often do we need to publish? Remember to publish at least once a day. Oh.
Yes, that's correct. You want to remember to publish at least once a day. As good practice, myself personally, I actually save before I go to lunch or publish before I go to lunch. And then, because stuff happens while you're at lunch, and you may not return, and then I actually publish again before I leave. So just best practice.
All right, thank you. Our next question is from Kelly in California. Are there different methods or ways to share models with my other consultants?
Yes, Kelly, actually, that's a great question. And what we showed you here in this demonstration is the ultimate way of sharing that information through using the consumed folder. And if you had been using probably BIM 360 Team, I take it you probably were using Team before, and there was only one way to share that file or the models with just one project folder. In BIM 360 Design, you actually have three different methods. You can share models by giving everyone administrative rights, and we consider that a high-risk environment. And you have everyone looking at your root directory within your project folder. The second method is just to simply share it, and it goes into another location to share it. You notice that Christopher and I and the design team linked in our other backgrounds from different locations, and you would just change it to the shared folder instead of the consumed. So, and the consumed is the last version, the third way of sharing files or sharing models. Yep, good question.
Wonderful. Our next question is, how do I know if I have Desktop Connector installed?
There's two ways to know, really. One is the easiest way is the icons next to your clock in the bottom right-hand corner. You'll see a little A, and if you hover over it, it'll say Desktop Connector. Another way was when we navigated within Revit, and I went to my computer. That's where I was able to see BIM 360, BIM 360 Team, and the caveat, or at least one thing to remember, is the central models are getting published and pushed to the cloud, which was that first folder that popped up when I tried to link. But then if I'm trying to do any linking or anything like that, I'm going to use that desktop connector.
One thing I wanted to interject on that is that desktop connector also needs to be updated and maintained. So you might have installed a desktop connector back in 2017, and now you're looking to do a project in BIM 360 Design. Make sure that you check that that thing is also up to date, or else it's not actually going to work.
Yeah, that's a good point. And even a couple times, you may have to go into the folder, come back out, and go back in for it to refresh. So those are things that I've found that I'm like, hey, where's my project? But if I just back out of it and go back in, you typically can find it.
Excellent
Thank
points.
you.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. Our next question is from Lee. Can I download my central file that lives online?
Absolutely. You can download the backups offline through the BIM 360 Design, and if you do that, then you'll always have the latest version.
Perfect. Our next question is, are there any common mistakes you see people make in the project setup?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. There's several, but I think one of the biggest ones that I've seen multiple times consulting with clients is when you're the project admin and the account admin, you need to make sure and actually add yourself to the project. Just because you're the account admin doesn't mean you're actually actively able to access the various teams and parts of the design collaboration and document management in the project.
Wonderful.
Excellent
Great
point.
answer.
Excellent point, Anthony. Yeah, and just to kind of tag on to that, you'll notice when I started creating that project right at the beginning, there was 2 locations for project admins. And to Anthony's point, absolutely. Basically, you want to make sure that you have more than one person invited to that project as a project administrator so that they can manage it. Matter of fact, not too long ago, we had a customer, a client of ours, who had gone on this long vacation for a month, and she was the only one that was the project administrator. And no one could get into the projects or do anything because she was out of town and basically off the grid. So you can imagine how frustrating the rest of the team was.
Absolutely, for sure. Our next question is from Brad. What is the permission levels I need to set for my consultants?
I'll take that one. So, Brad, to answer your question, the permission levels basically is how much do you trust that individual? And for the most part, you'll notice that I set up mine where everyone was a member. And in this case, I kind of a little bit leery of my design team, a little bit cautious. And so I made them just members, and so I don't have them have full admin rights, so they don't see my folder. You can also really mess things up quickly if you limit your other designers and engineers to, let's say, just view only accidentally, and then they won't be able to synchronize or send those changes. So I guess to answer your question is, if you don't know, then give everyone a admin right and have it be a high trust environment, and kind of do the old-fashioned communication through a phone call to make sure that everyone understands what level of permission and where they're supposed to be sending and synchronizing drawings to.
Great point, Rick. Our last question is from Todd, and he asks, can I upload my central file through the web interface?
I'll take that one. No, you can't. And in fact, the central model is probably the only file that we can't upload that way. If you remember, when I made my structure model, within Revit, when I clicked on Collaborate, I had the option to save to BIM 360 document management. And that's really how we're going to save to BIM 360. The web interface, really what that can be used for is the cut sheets that we were trying to upload, that linked files that had DWGs, any of those sort of drag and drops, we most certainly can upload that way. We can even upload that through the desktop connector. But the central model is the only thing that you're going to really use Revit for, and you're going to publish it, or, well, one, you're going to save it, but you're also going to publish it.